Then for watering inside, inside of your plant house, this is a Wonder Water, and this is just a really simple watering wand that is nice for watering things on top of benches. These are also available with inline filters, and that's really nice because it's easy to clean the filter out with a watering wand as opposed to having to go back to where your mesh filter might be with your garden hoses. All right, after all the crops are in the ground, we got to worry about weed control. One great thing for organic weed control is flame weeding. So this is a backpack flame weeder. It's just a propane tank with a hose. It has an adjustable nozzle on it. You definitely want that. You don't want it to be basically all on or all off. You want to be able to control that flame. And this is a great tool for doing that. One example of this might be using carrots. So if you were to direct seed your carrots, right, what you can do is until you get your timing right, is you can actually build like a little greenhouse. Put it over part of your plot, and you'll see that those carrots will come up earlier because of that supplemental heat. And then you can get used to that timing, but right before the carrots come up, you can actually burn all the weeds off the field, and then the next day, if you have your timing right, the carrots will come up unscathed by that fire in a field with no weeds. So this is pre-emergence flaming is a great cultivating tool on the preventative side of the weeds. Then we also have different cultivating tools. By far my favorite, and simply because it's a very easy tool to use. This is a Glazier wheel hoe, and it has a chassis, and this chassis here has all these different slots, and there's a ton of different implements that you can use and are interchangeable with this tool. So this one right now has a stirrup hoe on it. It's called a stirrup hoe because like as if your foot would go down in the stirrup, and it oscillates back and forth. What's great about this tool is it allows you to use your big muscles. Right, so as you're going, you can be standing upright, and you really can get a lot of force into this tool. So this is a great tool for like cultivating in between, like in between your beds, right? But this would not be like a finesse tool for going in and around your crops. But it's a really great investment. Everybody who gets one of these is really happy that they did that. This is a hand stirrup hoe. So it just has a long handle, and again, it oscillates back and forth. It's the same kind of tool, it's just a hand version, and you're going to go back and forth. And because it doesn't have that big chassis, you can get a lot more detail with one of these stirrup hoes. Then, as far as some of the cultivating tools that are really meant for really precise cultivating, this is a long-handled wire weeder. It's called a wire weeder. It's kind of just like a wire. And what you want to do is you want to get the weeds when they're tiny, right, so that you basically can control them. And if you get the weeds when they're tiny, when they're fragile, all you got to do is kind of disturb them, and lots of times the sun will just go ahead and kill them. So this is a long-handled wire weeder. And then what I think is the best hand tool for cultivating is this collinear hoe. It's called a collinear hoe because the line of the handle is in line with the front edge of the blade. So this is the version that has a replaceable blade on it. And this is just a really great tool. So it's called a pulling hoe. Typically when you think of a hoe, you're thinking about a chopping motion where you're going up and down. It's great for your, it's really great for your back. This one is totally different. It's meant to be ergonomic, so you can stand straight up. You can grab the handle. It's a thumbs up design, and you're basically just sliding the razor blade underneath, underneath the soil, and making sure that you're getting all those little crops. So definitely, it's a tool that takes a while to learn. There's a lot of finesse in it, but it's really an excellent tool. One note about this one is when you sharpen it, you're actually going to sharpen the top edge. So a lot of times, you might think that when you sharpen it, you're sharpening it this way, but the reality is you want to turn it up, right, and you want to sharpen that front edge of that blade. That'll make sure that as you're dragging it, it has a tendency to want to go and pull underneath the soil. So those are some of the different cultivating tools. For season extension, we have all this different row covering. There's several companies that make it, Agribon, AgriFabric. They're all at different price points, but basically the same type of material, and it's really an excellent thing for season extension. It also can be used for pest prevention because you can cover the crops and stop pests from getting in there if you can make sure that you have sandbags all the way around it to keep it solid. You can also get one of the quick hoops benders, one of the tube benders, and then use a lot of this 10-foot conduit, just metal conduit from a hardware store to make the hoops so that you can support that fabric and do season extension with it. You also want to be able to have low tunnels inside of your high tunnels to really maximize the season extension possibility with unheated high tunnels. Once you have your crops, you obviously have to be able to wash them. And an important thing for especially leafy greens and stuff like that is to be able to spin that crop. So this is an old one and a new one, but they're big. These are just salad spinners, right? So you put your crops in there. It's got a hand crank on the top that allows you to spin it. And basically, if you can take those greens and you can spin that water off of them, it'll allow those to have a longer shelf life because that water isn't there with the crops. So it's a really, really simple device. These are 2 hand crank versions. There's also, you can get an electric version that goes on top of this. And then if you get to the scale where it makes sense, there are big, 20-gallon commercially available units as well. So it's amazing what these people are able to do with just some very, very simple tools. They also have some of the basic tools you'd want at a farm for T-post pounding, T-post pulling, right? They've got shovels, rakes, and post hole diggers and things like that. But it's really neat to kind of see it all in one spot and see what this farm has been able to do with such simple tools.